In order to ensure you can properly preserve the texture data, you need to create a duplicate of this object. Luckily, this is easy in Blender. Select your object, hit Shift-D, and right-click immediately. By right-clicking immediately, you have placed the object in its exact original position. If you had not right-clicked, it would have followed your cursor until you would have right-clicked. In your object's property panels, you can lock the exact positioning of your object. Now it is time to begin the actual cleaning of the scan. At first glance, you can see several areas which need to be fixed. If I turn the matte cap shader on, these problem areas become even more obvious. That is why it is very helpful to switch back and forth between the matte cap and the color map. To fix these problem areas, we will need to go into Sculpt mode. Inside of Sculpt mode, you have several brushes to work with, including Blob, Clay, Clay Stripes, Crease, Fill Deepen, Flatten, Grab, Inflate, Smooth, Sculpt Draw, Scrape, Rotate, Pinch, Nudge, Mask, Layer, Snake Hook, and Thumb. The majority of repairs can be done with only about 5 of these. I'm going to use clay strips to repair these. I want to ensure that symmetry is disabled. In order to fill in these legs, it'll be most helpful to use dynamic topology, a brush feature within Blender. If you noticed, when I clicked the box, it provided a warning before enabling Dyntopo. This is why we created the duplicate model beforehand. This will allow us to rebake the texture information onto the fixed model. Before proceeding with Dyntopo, we want to make sure to be aware of which model we are working on. If you check the arrow next to Dyntopo, you will be provided with additional parameters to adjust. This number here is the maximum triangle size allowed. Therefore, the smaller the number, the finer detail it will automatically use. The default of 12 is way too large for anything we will be doing. I recommend an adjustment of at least 6. This will provide a much finer triangle detail. At this point, we're using clay stripes to fill in some areas. Without adjusting any other settings, this may take forever though. All brushes in Blender have a hardness setting. You can adjust this hardness setting by using the slider on the left-hand side. See how much quicker this is going? Well, this is very obviously not a final leg product. It is good for filling in these empty spaces. I'm going to continue filling space in on this leg until I feel that it has reached the general shape needed. Unfortunately, while in Dyntopo mode, you cannot check the texture information for reference. Now that the leg has reached a general shape that I like, I'm going to smooth over the mesh. While it is not perfect, it is definitely a lot better than it was. When I go in later to sculpt in details, I will have a good canvas to work with. We want to take care on detail areas like hands, feet, and face. In order to get reference, we can enable the secondary model which still has texture information enabled. Well, we can't see the entire texture, we can see an overlay and get a general idea. I feel like this leg could have a little more dimension to it. In the case of smoothing, I can find it useful to actually lower the hardness setting depending on the situation. For example, if I want to keep some detail while smoothing and not have it be completely uniform, I will lower the hardness setting. Sometimes on meshes, you will get large protrusions from the actual mesh. Well, smoothing it is an option. It generally isn't practical. Well, we could fill this. We could also just delete the vertices that are protruding out from the mesh. Click C to enable brush in edit mode, and use your scroll wheel on your mouse to increase the brush size. Once you have your vertices selected, press X on your keyboard and select vertices to delete. There will now be a gaping hole in your mesh. Luckily, we will fix this later on. In the meantime, we want to go over the general shape of the mesh and ensure that it is a good canvas for detailing later on.